nowadays, like you are serving as a professor. So before, when the AI tools came, so what do you feel when before when the like AI era, you are receiving more emails, or nowadays you are receiving no more email from students? What is the difference? Because there is a some native speaker or some non-native students. So before it was some difficulty to approach like that.
I mean, I do receive more emails today than a couple of years ago, but that's probably also related to own career succession and more visibility and more interest of people, more publications that increases obviously also the interest of people. I'm not sure whether that is related to AI, but if AI is fine to improve in terms of language or so, but if you get the impression that is a purely AI generated email that just has a couple of bloomy sentences, that's certainly not convincing, and that means I receive more emails. I also don't react to every email I'm receiving for reasons when it's arbitrary and it doesn't even fit broadly fit in terms of disciplinary background and research interest. Obviously, I wouldn't even bother to respond because otherwise the day would be full with just writing responses to some of those emails that people shoot out to probably a large number of professors. I would certainly respond if there's a direct connection that's being made, otherwise not.
Okay, so what is the first reason you just see and delete that email?
I mean, if a person applies from a very different discipline and doesn't clarify in the beginning that there's a reason, there can be there can be valid reason also for people from other disciplines to apply, but that obviously needs to become clear immediately. Otherwise, I would just think this is probably going to the wrong, recipient. I would also delete emails immediately if I get the impression that this is a standard email that was sent to dozens of persons, and maybe only the name of dear Professor so-and-so was changed. You sometimes realize that because it's in a different font style, you're realizing it was copied out of a different document. And that's obviously something where I would quickly stop reading and deleting the email.
Oh, that's very good reason you told. And the other thing, when the student are sending email to you, they also attach the CV with the emails. So do you think you read all the CV? What thing, like which section is attractive to you? You just click the CV and go on that section and check this person is really belongs to my research, or this CV is very attractive.
I mean, it depends on the career stage that a person applies. If a person applies for a postdoc position, then I'll certainly look for papers and publications. Definitely. That's the main, the number one criterion. If somebody has, at least one paper in a journal that I know is a good journal, then that's the first thing I look at. For persons who are applying for PhD positions, I mean, graduate level positions, and that's actually the larger number of applications or emails that are received where people are interested in pursuing a PhD under my supervision. There, typically at that stage, people don't have, publications, and if they have publications, then it's often, in journals I've never heard of that don't impress me. And that would also not be an important criterion. I don't consider that necessary that a person who goes into a PhD program already needs to have published well. But then, of course, it matters what subject area the person has studied. Here, we require people to have a master's degree when they enter our PhD program. So from what university, in what subject area is that, and what is, potential research idea that the person wants to work on. So those are the things. Of course, if you get the impression that the person is familiar with quantitative research, with some statistical methods that are relevant for what we are doing, that's certainly very useful and criterion I'd look for, not at that case publications.
And what about the CGPA or the percentage of PhD student and master student?
I mean, grades matter, and since we are receiving, or I'm receiving applications from all over the world, sometimes it's a little bit hard to compare. But obviously, you're trying to make sense out of the grading system, where it's coming from. And if it's clear that the person is somewhere not in the top 30% or so, it would be difficult. It would be difficult because then you get the impression the person is not, really that smart, but also because it would be harder to get them admitted into our PhD program simply because there are certain rules. But it's not always that easy from different systems, different universities and different countries to really get a great idea of how good it really is. So for people that you have more on your short list, you would then try to reach out to persons and who are familiar with the university or the program or so, and seek a little bit advice of how well is that. So grades matter at that level. Later on, for postdoc positions and more advanced positions, it's not primarily grades that you're looking for.
Okay, so but when you have you have selected three top candidate, and three top candidate have a same mostly the same level of CV. So how you can differentiate? Of course, it is difficult to differentiate. So you look like extracurricular activities like hobbies, and he attempted online courses or something like that for evaluation.
Yeah, but if it's really there are top three candidates, if it's at that stage, then I typically would also have an interview and talk to the person, and that often gives additional insights. First of all, it helps you in understanding whether all of the nice emails that you received were AI generated, because then you talk to the person. But also better understanding, how the person reacts to certain questions, what type of questions the person asks, and so that's also very important, obviously, as an additional criterion. So it'll be a mixture then of written documents, research ideas, experience, and that personal impression that you're getting.
Okay, so when a student are approaching you, so do you they should send a research proposal and SOP with CV, or this is the later criteria you want to check?
I mean, when there is an initiative type of email that's not responding to a particular position announcement, then I think having a CV attached is a good idea, because if you start reading the email and you think, okay, I continue reading because it sounds interesting, then it's also good to have, if you want a little bit more additional information by clicking on the CV. So yes, I would attach a short CV. The Whether a research proposal should be attached, I would, in such an email, not typically attach a longer research proposal, but something like half to one page idea of what you would want to work on is useful. I'd keep that short and crisp and such that it may attract the interest because it links to something that really is super interesting and could fit into the research group. But it's if you're already having a long research proposal, it's also creating the impression that that's what the person wants to do, and that's either good or not. But there's little flexibility. I mean, in the end, you want persons to have good ideas, but you also want to obviously advise them to maybe also think about a slightly different direction that may be even more promising. And so having everything, uh, developed and carved in stone is not a good idea. A short idea would be very useful, of course, in a first email. I mean, if
Yeah,
it's just a thing that you're getting an email, I'm so and so, and I have studied this and that, and I want to do my PhD under your supervision. Okay, that's the type of email you're getting, too many of, and that's not useful. But if there is an interesting idea that could fit, then it makes it more interesting.
yeah. There is also a very common question from the students. The CV should be, they are worried about the length of CV. It should be like 4 to 5 pages, or should be 2 pages or 1 pages. What do you think about that, and which section it can be like most important?
I mean, I I think a short CV is useful, especially for people at early career stages, because there isn't that much, that you would put on, and that in a first go through, people wouldn't read anyway. But short, whether it's, I mean, it can be 2 pages, but I mean, I wouldn't say that it necessarily has to fit on one page or so. It doesn't matter. But a CV of very, I mean, just a grad student early on in the career that's 5 pages, that would be too long. So I think 2 pages is fine. If there's something important on a third page, why not? I wouldn't be very particular about that. But I think 2 pages is fine.
So if like the student sent email, you didn't respond to them, or maybe you like are traveling somewhere or something, so it is okay to give a follow-up email. And how many days should be like after 7 days, or just what is your opinion about it?
I mean, obviously, it's totally legitimate to send follow-up email if there wasn't a response. In my personal case, if there isn't a response, there's a reason for that.
Okay.
Because I do respond to emails that I do want to respond to. It's not that I just
Okay.
forget. But people are different, and therefore I don't blame anyone who is sending an email after a week or so to uh, friendly ask whether the email has been received or so. But I may not respond again for a reason, and so therefore. It's nothing that I would blame a person for sending a reminder, but I would assume that typically there's also a reason for not receiving a response.
Okay. So for the reference recommendation, so it is matter to have at least two or three, or sometime some student who just took a bachelor, like in Pakistan, India, in some colleges, they don't have recommendation at that level from the university. So how do you like evaluate for that? Did you contact them, or how they can like minimize this from the CV?
I mean, you mean adding reference letters, or I mean, there's
No, the
one way, and that's
recommendation of the professor information, like two referees information. If they don't have, so how they could be?
but there's typical there's different systems and different approaches. I mean, in some systems, it's common to send reference letters attached to the application. And
Mhm.
that's something that, yeah, I mean, is having a little bit of value, but not that much. But if you can
Okay.
confidentially ask, a person for if you're interested in to learn more, that's useful. And I mean, typically, at least the professor who has supervised the master thesis or so is generally,
Yeah.
willing to be named as a reference, and I would certainly try and do that because that can be useful information. It doesn't mean that you would contact them immediately, but for those persons where you are, considering seriously whether you want to hire that person or give them a chance, allocate a scholarship or so, then sometimes it's something that you do. Obviously, it's often easier to contact references that some professors, but
Yeah.
that's obviously not something that a person from any university has access to, and therefore, that's not a criterion. But if you're asked for references, then you should be able at least to name one or two persons with contact details.
Okay. Thank you.